Recently, I released a survey asking you all what you would like to see on my channel. So far, since I started actually making this video, I got 2 results. Anyway, one of those results asked about kit bashing for models for games. Last month, Games Workshop released a Spacemarine edition of the White Dwarf. So let's have a very specific look at a very specific page. Here is me many days ago.
Alright, so this has been recorded long before I actually start painting or building the model or even like doing the bloody introduction. Major difference, don't know what it's going to be like. Okay, sorry if you can hear a lot of noise, I'll try to turn it down a little. Anyway, so, training chapter. Okay, let's begin with progenitor. I have a little note taking. Please excuse my note taking notes because they are really... Number 5. So, Dark Angels or Blood Angels? Ooh, lovely. That dropped in a 3, so that's Blood Angels. Nice one. Okay. Let's see here. Number 2, which is Homeworlds. 1. Farewell Death World or Feudal World. Ooh, I'd like to use some knights. That'd be cool. Yeah. These aren't rated. These aren't rated. This is a single goddamn dice, and it's only giving me what I want. Combat Doctrine. This is going to be an interesting one. I got a 6. Guerrilla Tactics. Number 4. How they actually work. Monster Hunting Guerrilla Tactics. I'm sorry, am I making a Monster Hunter class based off the Blood Angels? Sure. And that is used. I forgot to scroll it down, but it is Monster Hunters. Anyway. Number 3. Unusually intolerant or fanatical. Oh, so either they believe in the God Emperor or they believe in the Man Emperor. Interesting. I can do a little coin toss, or I could just have 2 friends duke it out on like Warframe. One of the 2. Oh well. Final part is the quirk. It could be done, it might not. Oh well, doesn't really matter. Number 4. Vendetta against a particular faction or individual. Of course. Alrighty, here is everything. Told you I suck. I told you I suck at note taking. Alright, back to future me, I guess.
Alright, let's just decide what we're picking for the foe, the old foe that he needs to fight back against. Well, they said it. Okay, the main reason why I've not included the Votan is this is just because they're new. They are very new, so it doesn't make sense for the ancient foe to be, the new dwarves. Anywho. Cool. Cool. Okay, multiple mini monsters ambushing guerrilla warfare against the guerrilla warfare. That's a fun idea. But before I can start anything, I need to decide on the belief as it was made up to a coin flip. So let me show you the madness I decided to do. I thought about it, but I'm not going to show you it because it was quite cringe. I was very tired. It was like 11 PM at the time. I know it's not that late, but it don't matter. I like mornings. The winning one was unusually intolerant. Back here now. I don't know why the game was weird with those 2 wheel clips, but the video this time, instead of just going straight into the priming models and painting them, I have decided to record the building process to show anyone who might be inspired by this kit bash. So I shall begin my first ever building tutorial. For the base of the kit bash, I started with the Black Templar Sword Brethren. These guys have a larger profile compared to the other Marines, while giving a bit of a feudal look in some of these areas. The reason why I chose these guys is just so I can turn them into a captain, really. While I am using a knife to hack off flash and mold lines on the model, I would recommend using a mod line remover and files if you are just starting with building models and painting them. But a knife is in fact needed to hack off any shield trinkets. In this blurry example, I use my knife to trim the shield into a teardrop to make the progenitor closer to the Blood Angels instead of the Imperial Fists. After preparing all the parts of the body and legs, add some glue onto the contact points of each piece and then attach them all until you get a complete body. Before we can move on to the other kits, I added in a backpack with the lantern part and removed that little black Templar sign on the top of it, just letting us have an interesting addition to the model. Now to make the character and character! I used some Cork-Eye Savage from an MKIII and torn it up into little pieces until there's a piece that's just the right size for the base. Then I used super glue to stick it onto the base and used something heavy to make sure it cures connected to that base. And now we can use other kits, like the Assault Intercessors. I grabbed a gun and knife arm from the kit, but I won't be using those pieces for the weapons, only the arms, so I cut the hands off. The one replacing the gun will be the spear from the Horus Heresy Melee Upgrade Sprue, but since it's in two hands, I will have to cut off one of them. Since I am keeping the right hand, I will have to get it positioned like it's about to be thrown at something. Then, cutting the pistol hand and smoothing the joint, I glued on the spear hand and let it cure by the side while I worked on the other arm. Whittling the joint was the best option I had thanks to the melee arm having the large bracer. Once I got a decent shape, I glued on a hand from the Horus Heresy Command Upgrade Sprue that held the handle of a shield. All that remained after those parts were to attach them onto the main body. Since I used the knife arm for the shield, it gave a great pose that allowed for the shield to be in front. Kept the shield aside as it will be a sub-assembly, but I started to add an extra piece of equipment from the Grey Knight's Terminator kits, which was a couple of grenades that included a void grenade. Now for the helmet and pauldrons. I used some remaining bits from the new Mark III Spacemarines. At first I cut them off with a sprue, and then I removed the spike on top of the helmet. The reason why I did this is because I'll have a crest from the Commander Upgrade Sprue that I cut off of the helmet. While I will be keeping the helmet off for the sub-assembly, I did put the pauldrons on alongside a tilt shield from the Grey Knight's Terminator kit once more. I got the parts of the Space Marines sent off to be primed, but while they were drying, I got to work using a sealer on the cork. While I am using a wood sealer, you are more than welcome to use Mod Podge or any other sealer that can be used. And finally, I added a Gene Sealer skull to the base as they are his foe, and I am thankful that I got the Battlefield Trophies kit on hand. I got around to priming once the sealer dried, using matte black for the base and steel forged silver for all three of the Space Marine sub-assemblies. And now, let's paint. Now, we can finally start painting this Marine. I have gone for a silver and metallic red design for the main armor. Their name, however, is still undecided, but we can worry about that later. Gather up the paints and let's begin the base step. Start the basing step with Gargoyle Grey, going over all of the tabard and the parchment found all over the Marine. Follow it up with Leather Brown. This paint is simply going over all those points of the belts, and any other leather straps or pouches you put on the model. Move on to the helmet now, as we use Brigade Grey over the entire crest. We are only needing the grey for the crest after all. Now for all the under armor and piping. Every part of those pieces are painted with matte black. Do be careful when going around other areas that were already painted. Onto the base now, starting with bony spikes. Use a few thin coats while applying it onto any skulls that you may have added. Add some Terrestrial Titan to the carapace part of the skull of the Gene Sealer, and now you can get ready to paint with metallics. Since I used the silver primer, I went straight into priming all the trim. by using the gemstone red over the entire trim, metal trinkets, and the teardrop I cut from the shield. I tried to start using another paint, but realised it was a brighter shade, so it's being used as a layer now. Final part of the step, use plate mail metal to tidy up the areas of the armor, shield and spear, and then once all that's done, clean up the water pot. There is quite a few paints needed for the shading step this time, so gather everything up and get ready to make some shadows. Begin the step with a wash of Seraphim Sepia, going over the tabard, the parchment and any skulls on the base. Then, a coating of Agrax Earth Shades over the belting and any other bits of leather around the model. Only area that needs some Soulblight Grey is just the right on the crest, but do be careful as to avoid too much pooling. Same with Purple Toad, just carefully go over the carapace of the Genestealer skull and avoid pooling. And now, Dark Red Tone. Use this wash over the larger areas of the red found throughout the model. Give a final shade of non-oil over the entirety of the silver details. Then you can call the shading done and get ready for some layering. And now we reached the layering step. There is a whole lot more in this step as I'll be using it to do the lenses of the helmets alongside another item. So, as always, grab the paints and get ready. Start the step with the paints I normally use as a base. Ancient Stone. I use it over all the tabard and parchment for areas found all throughout the model. Paratrooper Tan is next. This is simply going over all the edges of the leather areas painted. Apologies about this section as it will get hard to see, but use Warpstone Glow over both lenses on the helmet. After that, use some Moot Green on the only bottom part of the lenses. This is because that's the only part that will most likely be seeing a lot of sunlight, even with that massive visor. Add some matte white onto the crest of the helmet, alongside the sharpest points of the lenses as well. Then the opposite with deep grey, going over all the black details, alongside using it to dry brush the cork to give it that stony look. Carry on with the base, using pale sand all over the skull, carefully going over all the areas that would be hit by the light. Again, I am sorry, this time about the positioning of the model with this camera, but edge layer some Cultist Purple over the carapace. Water down some Warped Yellow, about 7:1 of water to paint, then add in over the edges in the lantern beacon thingy. And now onto metallics, starting with red copper. This will be going over all of the red metallic trim found throughout the entire model. Clean up the steel edges for the entire model with shining silver. Then you can get ready to do the base, as the layer step is now complete. This time around, the base is less focused on the texture paste I use, but the cork itself. Even then, you will need to drill a hole into it so that you can stick the marine down. But, for now, gather the paints and let's finish this model. I use a brush for this one just so that I can have more control in the tight areas, but use Astro Granite on the lowest parts of the base. Once the paste dried, go over all the Astro Granites and the lowest parts of the cork with Rattling Grime. For all the higher raised areas, go over all the areas with the dry brushing of Ash Grey. Do be careful while painting around the skull though. After gluing everything together, paint the rim with matte black and you can finally call the model done, where the finished product will look like this. And there you have it, a new Blood Angel chapter emerged from the thoughts of my weirded out brain. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, do have a look at my other videos. I will have the survey in the description of this video if you have any ideas come up to you for what should be seen in the future videos. See you next time. Good lord, I bloody struggled at the end there. I'll send him more closer to go like, hey, that's all folks. Bloody hell.